Hello, athletes and fans of bodybuilding. Terrick El Guindy with the Mr. Olympia. Today, we have one of the most charismatic, artistic, enigmatic bodybuilders of all times, Bob. When it comes to enigmatic, I don't think anybody comes close to Sergio Oliva Jr. He's a former New York pro champion. How are you, Sergio?
With an introduction like that, I feel a lot better about myself. It's pretty good.
Yeah, you better be really good today, bro.
No pressure.
Tough crowd.
Also
No
with
pressure.
us, he is my co-host, and he is the voice of bodybuilding. He is the 2000 Mr. USA. He is the master of ceremony for the Arnold Classic and the Mr. Olympia, the athletes representative, Bob Cicherillo. How are you, Bob?
What's up, boys? Sergio, good to see you. You're out and kicking around back in your own house. Always nice to see.
Yeah, it makes you appreciate what you didn't appreciate. That's for sure.
Right.
And with us, the legend himself, four-time Arnold Classic Ohio champion. He's the 1992 Mr. USA. He received from the hands of Arnold Schwarzenegger this year the Lifetime Award Achievement. Lifetime Award Achievement. Is that correct, Flex?
Yeah.
Close enough.
Why don't you correct me, Bob?
That was the Portuguese version.
Lifetime Achievement Award.
Lifetime Achievement Award. Lifetime Achievement Award from the hands of Arnold Schwarzenegger. How are you, Flex?
Doing great, man. Great to see you, Serge. Great to see you guys.
Sergio, I was talking to Bob before you got in and before Flex got in, and I was telling Bob that you are the most enigmatic, charismatic bodybuilder we've had in the last decade. If somebody wanted to make a movie about bodybuilding and wanted the movie to be entertaining, all of us would say Sergio Oliva Jr. is your guy. He can deliver on stage and off stage. Now, Sergio, first and foremost, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Good. You know, just living life.
Sergio, I also want to speak on behalf of the entire bodybuilding industry. I was talking to Chris Cormier yesterday. Chris is very close to you. And I know on behalf of Bob, on behalf of Flex, the IFBB Pro League, the Mr. Olympia, we all love you. We all love you. We all deeply love you. We are with you when you win the New York Pro. We are with you when you have a guest posing that people think you didn't look good. We are with you at all times. And in this moment, obviously, you know, you're in Dubai, soon to be on a stage with the IFBB Pro League. But I just want to tell you, we are all with you.
Thank you. That means a lot. And also, I mean, I know you guys aren't like on all social media platforms, but I haven't been doing any interviews. Just kind of wanted to take a break away from, you know, bodybuilding and get back to love it again. So the only reason I'm even doing this one or even doing Dennis's is because I feel the same way about all of you guys. All of you guys are very important to me. Have made some kind of change in my life, giving me some advice. It's kind of helped me in my life. Even you, Terrick, when we had that talk last year in Brazil about kind of similar to what you were just saying, it made me feel like, man, you know what? Like, I can do this, you know? And it's great to see people that have watched me from an amateur till now. And on social media, I think people are just like, if you don't get first place, then you're not progressing and you're not a good bodybuilder. But if you've watched the sport since before Ronnie Coleman, you would know there's a lot of people that were trying, and then they hit it, you know, and you just have to fill your body out sometimes. You have to make progress. So it's cool to see some of my favorite people in the sport who, you know, see that in me. So I appreciate you even asking me to be on this panel.
Absolutely. Bob, I just want to go back to you. I remember Sergio Oliva Jr. at the USA's where he placed second as a super heavy. And the first thing that I noticed about him was how huge his legs were. I was like, man, I know he's got the name, but his legs are massive. People sometimes forget about how great of a bodybuilder, and I mean, he won the New York Pro, Sergio Oliva Jr. is, correct?
Absolutely. Well, before I get into that, I mean, you can have the name, but you got to put in the work. The name don't get you jack and squat. So Sergio's put his work in for many, many years now. And Sergio, don't worry about doing interviews and shows and things. Everybody knows everything about what's going on without you ever saying anything. That's the beauty of social media, right? Is you didn't have to say nothing.
Right, and they have the truth to like the 100th degree too. It's amazing how they could know so much. Wow.
Interestingly,
know so
like
much and not know anything at all.
I've got a real weird way of I got a real weird way of doing stuff myself. See, I actually picked up the phone and actually had a conversation with Sergio. It was amazing what you can learn when you actually talk to the guy himself.
It's crazy. It's crazy, right? How technology works both ways.
Yeah,
but
both ways is definitely right.
But let's get back to the nuts and bolts. Look at people that don't know. I mean, listen, Sergio's one of those people that when you see him in person, you're going to appreciate how big he is and the size that he is. He's taller than people think that he is. He's bigger than people think that he is. And when he's on stage next to somebody else, you actually get an idea that he can hold his own with anybody in the world. But as I know all too well, as everybody here is very familiar with, yes, it can take a few tries, a few bites at the apple until you get it just right. But let me tell you something. When Sergio gets it right, and maybe that's coming up here very soon, look out. You got another contender in there.
Yeah, and I just want to echo on that, Serge. I think I've seen, a few different interviews that you've done, and I think the biggest problem is people comparing to your dad, right? And the problem is, what I feel is you exceeded every aspect of what your dad achieved as far as muscularity. It's just that your dad was etched in a time where that type of muscularity wasn't seen before. And in our era, we're used to seeing Ronnie, we're used to seeing all these big guys. So they don't really appreciate true great muscle. So they're always comparing you to your dad. Like, and I seen one of the times you said, well, my legs are bigger than my dad. My arms are bigger than my dad. What do I got to do? So it's not really you competing with your dad and yourself as far as your mind, but just forget about that, brother. It's about you and what you achieve. And, we had a few talks before. Dude, you have everything and more than everything. You have more than enough size and everything else. I think probably the good and bad thing about this bodybuilding thing is we have this delusion of grandeur. And also we don't have this great sight of who we are when we're getting there, because we always want more and we always want more, right? That's what this sport is about. So we have like this distorted vision about ourselves. And I really know that you have a distorted vision about yourself. I can see it. I can hear it in the way you talk. And the reason why that is because I'm exactly the same way. I never thought I was big enough. I never thought I was good enough. If I won, I thought the judges made a mistake. But obviously, I will put on a facade like, yeah, I'm all that. You know what I mean? So I see that in you, and we've had those type of talks. The mental game of this sport is far more challenging than the physical game of this sport. And we haven't talked about your name a lot, right? We talk about all these other names going in these shows. It's because you haven't been going into these shows right. But when you get ready to come into the show, you will be talked about us, because I feel that you have every asset of becoming a Mr. Olympia. You do. It's been proven. There's guys who are smaller than you that has actually won this show lately, right? You have everything it takes. It's just Sergio competing against Sergio, and Sergio getting the F out of Sergio's way, right? We talked about that. Get the F out of your way, bro. So that's what I have to say to you personally.
Wow, nice, man, I need to come on the show more often. You guys make me feel so good about myself. But look,
just telling you the truth.
Look, I appreciate, right? Yes, everything, all the potential is there, and the what ifs, But we've seen, that's something that these younger fans haven't seen. They haven't seen a lot of people that came and gone that were exactly what you embodied. They embodied exactly what you just said, and they never made it. So really, it comes down to doing it or not. The what ifs it's a great story. It would be one of the craziest stories ever in history of bodybuilding if it happened. But there's plenty of Richard Jones, Lionel Bayekis, even Tony Freeman is one of my favorite bodybuilders ever. If Tony Freeman was alive right now, he would be a 5-time Mr. Olympia. It's just nailing it the right time, getting your head in the right space, and that's what I really wanted to move out to Dubai to do. I realized it's like if you work at your favorite restaurant. after a while, you don't like the food, you don't like the people, you don't like it anymore. And no matter what, bodybuilding is my job, it's my career. And as much as I got into it for my own purposes, it had nothing to do with my dad. Everyone knows my dad, tried to stop me from bodybuilding. So I know definitively I wanted to do this. But after you put in a decade, it starts to become different. And then it becomes the mind game, and the long game. So, and that's what I started to lose touch with. It was just kind of getting into a show. And then if you get a setback or disappointment, which when I did the 2020 Arnold, you were just showing the New York when Flex was talking. But really, the 2020 Arnold is by far, I think, my best that I've ever done. But it's hard for people to understand. A 5th place next to Rami, Bonac, Dexter is actually more impressive than beating Juan Morel and Jonathan De La Rosa at the New York Pro. It's a great thing. I love my ring. I think it's the greatest thing I have. Don't get me wrong. But to me, that was great. I beat Cedric at that show. Yeah. And then I thought because I was going to go, then people, I don't know if they forgot, I went out to Australia for the Arnold there, and then that got canceled like a couple days before, and then I was stuck there. And look, Australia was amazing. I got to be stuck in one of the most beautiful countries ever, but I wasn't back on grinding and getting ready for it. So then I had to come back to the States, and I had to get back on track. And then when the next Arnold was coming around, I really thought that was my show to win. I was so excited, and I think when I dropped the ball at that Arnold, which I did, like Bob has said several times, you can ruin a whole prep in 48 hours. And I did. Because 48 hours before that show, I was winning that Arnold. And I would be an Arnold Classic champion. And that's something that me and Aceto and my family will know forever in the back of our heads. And it is what it is. There's plenty of bodybuilders that have done that before. And then the good ones do it again. And I think that was the problem for me, is I was so upset about that I just tried to jump into the Legion, and then you lose to a guy. Now it doesn't seem so bad because Sean's beating a bunch of people. Sean's beating Rami. Sean's beating the biggest person in bodybuilding. But at the time, it was crushing. Like, man, this was my show to win. It's another show it's different if you're just giving your best, you're looking your best, then you gave it your all. When I'm losing, not looking my best, that's when it's just frustrating. So after that Legion show, I realized what was my next show? What was I going to do again? And the feeling of picking a show, I realized there's something wrong with me. So I had the opportunity to actually go out to India, and I stopped in Dubai for 2 days for a visa. And that's when I really saw how amazing it is here. And the gym is here, and it's a beautiful country. It's not like Kuwait, like a desert, like what you think it is. And I decided that I was going to come out here for a couple of weeks and kind of get Stella's groove back, more or less. And I loved it so much that I just didn't leave, and I've been here since. So that's kind of where I've been at.
So Sergio, you were the favorite, or you are still the favorite, going into the Arnold Classic Brazil. Your name is positioned as the favorite bodybuilder going into the Arnold Classic Brazil. There's a lot of great champions, but nobody that's going there so far that we know has won the New York Pro or placed top 5 at the Arnold. With that being said, are you going to compete at the Arnold Classic South America in São Paulo, Brazil?
No, unfortunately, I'm not going to be competing there. I never even really said I was going to be competing there. It was just a show that I wanted to shoot for. I really wanted to qualify early, get this Olympia qualification off my back. I haven't been to the Olympia since Sean Roden won in 2018. So I really just wanted to get that off my back, and then I can continue growing to the Olympia and be a force. And that was just kind of one of the shows in the beginning that I was even thinking about. I'm still trying to go there for Black Skull, my sponsor. I think that expo is one of the most insane expos I've ever been to in my life, and I don't want to miss out on it. But competing in the show, I'm not going to be doing it. With the travel restrictions that I had, it wasn't going to be a for sure that I was going to be able to travel. So continuing to push my body. And the most ironic thing about this is when I came to the Olympia in December, I did Flex Lewis's podcast. And I was telling him how there's so many motivating people out here that they can't even get a visa. I see them every day and they look so sick. They're killing it. And I said these words. I said, I don't know how they can prep for a show and they don't even know that they're going to be able to go, and then they aren't able to go, and then they just get ready for the next one. I think it's amazing. But unfortunately, that's not something I can do. I cannot just tell myself, oh, you'll be fine, and then no, do another one and another one. So we backed off this week that we're going to try and shoot for the next show after, or maybe the one after that.
Great. Flex, you've had challenges in your career, right? You had your car accident. You had a lot of stuff that you had to go through. And obviously, Sergio right now, he's in Dubai. Eventually, he needs to come to the United States or anywhere else and compete. What would be your advice to Sergio right now, knowing that in the past, you've dealt with a lot of challenges yourself?
Yeah, I think you just said it, and I just said it earlier. One of my biggest problems, I couldn't get out my own way. I just couldn't. I was my worst. I was people ask me, what's the best thing and what's the worst thing about Flex Wheeler? And I'm like, oh, that's the easy answer. Me, same answer. Flex Wheeler for both. So that's number one for Serge, because we've had private conversations. We have similarities like that with our thoughts. Other than that, I was just wired where, all right, do the next thing. Yeah, I didn't have anything else going for me. So I don't know Sergio's whole situation financially or work-wise, but I didn't have anything else. I didn't want to go back and be a police officer. So what do? I go back to work, right? It's like every day you do 8 to 5, and maybe that 9 to 5 or whatever, you're not happy one day, you got to go back the next day anyway. So that was my mind frame, and I didn't really think of anything else. It's like when I broke my neck, I thought I'd be able to compete quicker than I did. I didn't know. So my mind in a hospital with a broken neck is like, okay, I need to get ready for the next show. I'm going to miss the Arnold. What's the next show? And then when I got out of the hospital, you guys seen, as soon as I got out of the hospital, I was in the next show. I was in the Ironman just months after my neck being broken, because, for me, again, how do I pay my bills? How do I keep my sponsor? And even back then, when I broke my neck, immediately while I was in a hospital, I was fired from my contract. And I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah, I broke my neck. That's not my fault. So I got my contract snatched from me then. So I had to go back to work. So that was my mind and my mentality. But again, for Serge, pick the show that you feel you're going to be dominant in. Don't just jump into a goddamn show. Don't be nobody's stepping stone, man. You know what I mean? If you're not freaking ready, back out. I don't care what nobody effing say, because they're going to say worse about you if you go on stage and you're not ready. Secondly, you're going to beat the F up over yourself like you're doing right now, because you jumped in the shows when you weren't ready. Then all the demons come out. You feel me? All the demons come out. Can I do it? Am I good enough? F, should I do something else? Man, blah, 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 blah. So do the show that you feel that you're going to be ready for. Bank everybody else. Bunk everybody else is another word I would say, but I try not to talk that way anymore. Bunk everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully your sponsors understand and they fully behind you. And if they are, then they love you and they believe in you. If they're not and they dump you, you found out what you're really working with. That's what I have to say to you.
All right, here's the deal. I'm going to be far less diplomatic than our good friend Flex Wheeler, Sergio, because you and I go back a long time, all the way back when you were still a kid. All right, so
I wouldn't expect anything else.
I know you wouldn't, and I wouldn't. I love you, brothers. But number one, pick a goddamn show. All right, and I tell you that for this reason: you're going to be the favorite in any show you go in. There's not one show on the calendar today, from now until the Olympia, that if you go in, you're not going to be the favorite to win it. You're that good. You know it. Everybody else knows it. Even the people that call you Olivia know it. Okay? It's Oliva, people. Sergio Oliva. There's no other I at the end of that. Stop that stuff. All right? So here's the deal. Pick a damn show. Listen, I just covered all this on my last Voice of Bodybuilding. If you haven't watched it, your name should be right on over the top of it, bro. I cover all kinds of stuff that you would absolutely love. And actually, I say on there, pick a damn show. So you pick a show. I don't care which one it is. I don't care if it's New York. I don't care if it's Tampa, Chicago. Pick one. And you go in it and you beat everybody's ass on that show. And you start to chatter. Every podcast on this earth It's going to be picking up. We got a player here, everybody. Oh, Sergio finally brought it. Got to add his name into the mix of the Olympia now. This is your time, brother. So forget about all this other stuff. Whether you got to get out of there, you're going to come here. I don't care where you are. If you've got weights in a damn chicken breast somewhere, I'll guarantee you, I could have plunked you out of that Dubai jail, put you on stage. You wouldn't have had time to screw it up, and you would have won that show. So that's what I think.
Is there a pro show in Dubai? Doesn't Bader Budai put a show in Dubai?
Well,
no, not for open, unfortunately.
There was no open.
I think it's in the works, but no, it's only classic.
So Sergio, right now is Ramadan in a lot of the Muslim countries. And, actually last year I was in Egypt during Ramadan and things really slowed down in terms of business. I mean, I couldn't get a COVID test. I'm like, guys, I need to get a COVID test so I can fly back to America. And they're like, well, it's Ramadan right now. Eventually I found a place and I did my COVID test. But it seems like that right now in a lot of Muslim countries, because of Ramadan, which is an amazing, celebration, things kind of slow down. Is that what's preventing you from getting the paperwork done?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. Because I wanted to make it clear. It's not that I'm not choosing to do a show or anything like that. Unfortunately, my case is just kind of still just sitting around. And it just needs to go to my car insurance like a regular accident, just like it would be in the States. But you're right, it's the holy month here, and people are working less hours and working a little bit slower. So I think, unfortunately, it's going to end up being something where, like I said, it's going to be fixed right before, something that I couldn't just bet on that like the day of or something like that. And that's, I think, more frustrating than anything. If it was going to be a month from now, then I think that would I'd be able to handle that better. But if it's going to end up being the difference of a week, that I end up missing out on this opportunity because I really wanted to win that show. That's a really important show. There's a couple shows that I want to win in my life that I have little check marks I want to do. And that was one of them. So that's going to be really painful to do. But yeah, look, we have to think, is that the worst case? That's the worst thing going on in my life. It's just a waiting process, and I'm missing the first show of the year, not the last show of the year. Then I need to take that. I need to accept that and kind of like what Flex and Bob said is I need to move on, pick another show, but also not just kind of throw myself into something when I'm the whole point of look.
Of course.
I know it seems like I've been gone for a long time. People keep saying that, but I only took last year off. It's just 1 year. It means a lot that I feel like I've been gone so long. That means even people that hate me, they must really miss me. But
who hates you, Sergio?
Really?
Who hates you?
Really.
You tell me right now who hates you.
I'll tell you this. Anyone who does hasn't been following the sport for a long time. It's just this new fan.
Hey,
it's
Sergio,
okay. I understand.
Let me say this. I am a huge fan of yours for many reasons. Not only because I had a chance to watch you turn pro, but I also like your personality. I like your free spirit. I like how emotional you are. Sometimes people say Sergio is too emotional. And I said, I take Sergio any day with his emotions than a conniving, quiet person that's always working behind the curtains to damage other people's lives. Sergio,
too emotional, more emotional than me.
Listen.
Hey, let's not get crazy now.
Whoa.
Let's not get extreme now, Flex. Come on now.
But listen, when people express their emotions, sometimes you get the truth out of their soul. And some people call it hiding their emotions, some type of intelligence. Well, you don't have to be impulsive, but it's perfectly fine for you to be emotional. Hey, if you wanted to do the Arnold Classic and something happened and you were unable to do it, and now you're expressing sadness, I relate with that. Bob relates with that. Flex and everybody relates with that. Somebody comes here and tells us, well, it's part of life. And I just, no, it's not part of life. We get sad when things don't go the way we plan. So whoever hates you, you can come to meet me at the Olympia and I will face you, because nobody should hate Sergio Oliva Jr. He's one of the coolest cats in bodybuilding.
I'll be standing
Thanks,
right
man.
next to you. I'll be standing right next to you, bro. Taking
I
on anybody
appreciate
who
it.
says they hate you. Serge, I want to say, it's the internet, bro. It's different times now. It's different
Well,
times.
no, look, look.
So they have
what is it?
voices now, huh?
No, what it is just that I grew up in the sport, so the knowledge I have of the sport is like of an old blood person. But I happen to be competing with these new guys, and that's the problem. I actually get hate from both sides. I'll do a show, and then somebody makes a really horrible comparison between Phil Heath and something else, and I'll be the first one to yell at these old cats, like, "Hey, come on now, that's a ridiculous comparison." Boom! Now I got Robbie Robinson, I got every other DeMay yelling at me, and then also on the other aspect, people will post that this person's one of the best bodybuilders ever, and I'll be like, "This is the most ridiculous thing you've ever said ever. How can you say one person is the best ever?" And currently, come on, that's ridiculous. So I just get hate from both sides. I'm never gonna have kind of like the old bloods that are just like, "Yeah, he's our guy," and then the new guys are not gonna be like, "He's not our guy either," because they think
Hey,
I'm
listen,
old.
welcome to our world, brother. Okay, this is what you get. I got people in Egypt that hate my guts right now, and I got people in the UK who think I'm the best thing to come around since Slate Ezekiel bread. Okay, but here's the bottom line. Let's get to some brass tacks here. Okay, like you mentioned that you lost a Legion against a guy that you literally outweighed by almost 100 pounds, right? Now,
yeah, more than 100. Yeah.
With all due respect to Sean, tremendous bodybuilder, giant killer, all that stuff, the reason you lost to him is because you weren't 100%, not because he was. Right?
Yeah.
Now, but that tells us a whole lot, because if you were dead on and then you got beat straight up, well, that's a different discussion, right?
I don't see that happening.
You got all the attributes, and we just been discussing this the past few weeks. Don't know if you tune in as a regular here on Olympia TV, Sergio, but you should. But we've been talking about like Samson versus Nick Walker, right? And why, in my opinion, Samson has a better physique. He's put together better proportions, better symmetry, and if he comes in on, the destiny is in his own hands. You're in the same boat.
Yep.
You got these guys beat on all those attributes. You've got one thing and only one thing to focus on, and it's getting in shape. If you were, and you and I talked about even the Arnold that I thought you were going to be a contender to win. If you were, 5 to 6 pounds lighter there, you would have contended to win the show. But there's nothing else to everybody's got stuff to work on, right?
So,
but
Bob,
you got all the boxes are checked.
Bob, let's start our segment, Losing Followers.
Not me, my friend. Every time we start this segment, by the way, I gain followers, Terrick. So bring it.
By the way, one of the best podcasts is The Voice of Bodybuilding with Bob Ciccarillo. It's uncensored. Is where he tells everybody to go to hell, including myself. I love it. Bob, if Sergio Oliva Jr. is at his best, where would he place at this past Arnold Classic? Would he be on the call out?
Listen, that's a great question. Where do I think you would? Let's just, once again, we got to go down hypothetical avenue, right? Because everything's a hypothetical in bodybuilding until it actually happens. But let's go down that. I'll take the challenge here, Terrick. This is the easiest question you're going to throw to me today. Where does Sergio fit into the Arnold if he nails it? Now, once again, I'm going to say everybody's 100%. Everybody, the whole lineup, everybody nails it, right? I think you've got a hell of a showdown between Samson and Sergio for the win. Now, this is an easy one to me. Sergio fits the mold better to Samson, who won the show. Andrew Jack, who I think I would have had in second place, but listen, you can make an argument for him or Nick. But Sergio is closer to Samson and Jack, all right, than he is to the other guys that are out there. Similar in height, size, proportions, great muscularity, good thickness. It all comes down to conditioning. But again, everybody just nailed it, right? Sergio nails it 100%. Him and Samson are fighting for the win right there. And then, of course, it's a toss-up. You have to see them next to each other. Who brings it out? Both of them are great posers. That would have been a hell of a showdown right there. But I got Sergio no less than second, and maybe he even beats old Samson there.
Sergio, you did watch the Arnold Classic. There was a bit of not a lot of controversy. A lot of the insiders, they had Samson winning, but some of the fans, they thought Nick Walker won, which is perfectly fine. That's bodybuilding. Did you watch the Arnold Classic, Samson versus Nick Walker?
Yeah, of course I watched it. I watched it with a microscope. Look, and look, this is what I was talking about earlier, and this is going to kind of go over some of the newer fans' heads, but maybe you guys will appreciate it. Whatever type of body style you have in a bodybuilding show can change the show. If you have a Derek, Hottie, and Nick, and then throw in one tall guy, I don't know, Samson, Andrew, me, Crizzo. If we're not the same condition, like shredded, our most shredded possible, chances are Derek, Nick, and Hottie are going to look better, just automatically, just how their look is. But now you throw in one short guy and two other tall guys, it changes the whole aspect now in the shape. And that's what people don't get when you go into a bodybuilding show, because you look at pictures on social media. On social media,
did we lose Sam?
He's stuck framing the question. Look at him.
Hold on, Sergio. I think, can you
There
hear
we
us
go.
now?
So going into the show, the problem is that people think, oh, okay, this condition with that look. And then when they get on stage, it's a different show. And I say this all the time. Look, everyone doesn't have to go to all the shows like us. We're so, addicted to bodybuilding. We'll go to every possible show there is. But if you've never been to one open pro show in your entire life, then I'm sorry, your opinion on bodybuilding is skewed. And it always will be. Because sometimes people look way bigger. I've caught myself staring, and I can talk to myself. I cannot stop looking at this person. And on social media, I could care less for them. And then the opposite, you see people and you're like, wow, this is one of the greatest physiques ever. And you walk next to them, they look like they're in the NPC. So in person, the shows are different, and the live cast, don't even get me on the web's, horrible quality that is. It's a hit or miss if you're going to get good quality or not. Shout out to the Arnold. They had a good webcam. And that's the problem, is that all these people are sitting on their toilets, on their phone, saying how bodybuilding should be, when you have no idea what it is in person. It's a different whole aspect. So me doing the Arnold, I would have definitely favored, because I'm next to two of the tallest people in bodybuilding. And now me having a little bit thinner skin than them, I might have got the edge on them. But if I stand next to Derek, Hottie, and Nick, and I'm 85%, 90%, I'm losing the show big time. I'm taking fourth place easy. And that's the apples and oranges of the sport. People throw that term out all the time, but they don't really even know what it means. And neither one is wrong. Knicks fans, they're right. They're not wrong. We have a different, eye or preference.
Let me say this. I'm a little concerned with everybody watching this in the bathroom on the toilet, but it does tell me that bodybuilding has clearly gone into the shitter.
You know what the problem is? Our sport is judged more by people on the internet than actual professionals. Back in our time, it was judged by professionals in the magazines and on stage, and that was it. So the big difference in kind of the world we live in now is you got idiots, right? You got idiots, and you have idiots with just lack of knowledge people, but you also have stupid people able to weigh in on our sport on the internet, and it changes the whole diameter. And you know what? You hit it right on the nail, Serge. I don't give a damn. A photo, even if it's crisp, the internet, even if it's crisp, or watching, or seeing just old videos or whatever, it's completely freaking different when you're sitting there. Just no matter what a camera, be it video or photo, cannot capture what the eye can see. And it's completely different, brother. It's completely different. It's even completely different from how far you're away from seeing the athletes. Way back, you can be at the show and say, I was there. But if you weren't in the right position and you were too far back, you have a different perception of what's really going on that stage.
Now, guys, I have a question for all of you. Because I get to judge shows, and most of my life has been, I'm also married, people disagreeing with me.
You're married, you got to be used to that.
So, I've been judging for close to 15 years. And, once the show is done, only the winner really agrees with you. Rarely you have a guy who placed third who, comes up to you and say, yeah, I placed third. What can I do to improve? Family members disagree, and people are unhappy in the internet. But my question to you guys is this: whether they agree or disagree with us, with our opinion as judges or our opinion as experts or pro athletes, don't you think that they are ultimately consumers of our sport? Because they are, watching the podcasts, they're watching the shows, they're watching the pay-per-views, and it's fine. Maybe they have an opinion like, hey, Michael Krizo should have won the Mr. Olympia. Well, unfortunately, we don't think so, but you're still a consumer of bodybuilder. Hence, I invite you to still come in and criticize us as much as you want, because you are part of the bubble. Do you agree with me, Bob, or do you disagree? Do you think that there's a certain selection that should be made?
No, I think you're dead on, and I think this is one of the reasons why I decided to take my podcast and go full time with it, because I've noticed the same thing you all have, and Flex, you just touched on it. The average fan in the sport today versus 20 years ago has gone to Moronville. Okay, and here's part of the problem. They don't know what they're looking at. They don't know how to assess it. It's never explained to them. And it says, you know what? I'm going to be the one guy out there, instead of dealing with us bullshit that's out there and the Inquirer of stories, and Sergio's locked up for 30 years. We're never going to see him again, and all these ridiculous things that come out. Right? It's just dealing with garbage. No, somebody's got to go out there, and I'm going to be that guy, and I'm going to teach people. This is why this works. This is how the judging is judged. This is how the scoring is done. This is how to assess a physique. If you're a professional, if you're Flex Wheeler looking at a show, he's looking at a whole different show than you are from your living room. Okay. Now, here's the perfect analogy I've come up with for this. All right. For all those out there that are going, I guess you had to be there. Yes, you had to be there. Right. It's like this. Everybody's gone to a football game, right? And you're sitting there, and of course you're going to be a little biased because it's your team, right? So it's the Dallas Cowboys playing, or baseball, it's the Yankees playing, right? And you see it play. That's holding. That's holding. This is garbage, man. These officials are on the take. This is rigged. The NFL is rigged, right? Until you see the replay, right? And now, because you can't see the action that close, right? You see it in real time. You see what you thought was holding, but then when you see the replay, go, you know what? Actually, I was wrong. Actually, he actually wasn't holding. And now that I see the replay, now that I've seen that the guys that were on there, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck, were on there and explaining it and going, no, that's not holding, because you're allowed to do this or do that. But once you see the replay, now you have a different perspective. That's what we are. That's what you are, where the judges are. That's what people are when they're up close. They're seeing what you can't see at home on your tiny little phone or on your big screen in the living room. You're not seeing the same thing. Listen to the people that have been there. Listen to the experts that are out there. There's a reason. Now, listen, not everybody's always going to agree on everything, because there is an element of your opinion versus mine, right? And then it's an expert opinion versus a non-expert. But has anybody noticed that almost all what anybody would really consider an expert, we're all pretty much on the same page? There's a reason for that.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting point. Now, when it comes to Sergio Oliva Jr. being locked up for 30 years, that looks like a hell of a closet to be locked up, Sergio.
Damn.
With the pink towel on the back, do you get a lot of
I know, yeah. The worst thing about what even Bob's even talking about is, right, now who can put the information out first gets the most views, no matter what. If I put a story out right now that Terrick killed someone, no matter what, I'm going to get the views. If you find out it's not true, I still got the views. I'm still getting paid. So unfortunately, that's just how it is nowadays. But yeah, even my family even messaged that person and even said a couple of things that were for sure not true, and they still ran with it with another episode. And see, that's the thing, is at the end of the day, we keep thinking certain people are going to do the right things, or they're going to make decisions how we are, and they're just not. And unfortunately, that's how it is.
Over everything.
The example you just used with bodybuilding, you were saying how the instant replay. There's still going to be people, just like in football, who saw the hold, and say, come on, that wasn't even a hold. So there's still going to be people with a slow-mo replay, and those people are the type of people that follow the sport, that they only prefer the physiques of their own. And that's something I think people don't ever understand is you're always going to kind of, especially like if you're an up-and-coming bodybuilder, you're young, maybe you have interest in competing, you want your physique to be doing well. Because when you get up there, like if you're a short, stocky kind of Nick Walker looking guy, in the history of the sport, you really didn't have a fair share. You didn't really have a person to look for, you know what, like Art Atwood, Marcus Rule, like kind of like stuff like that. And they were, I think, double his height. So it's not even really a good, it's not even a good comparison. But no matter what, these people are like, man, I love this person. Like they feel that they are like his family. They feel like when he wins, they win. And there's always going to be fans like that they don't really even care what's right, what are the rules, who looks better. It's just kind of like, that's my guy, and he's always right.
Terrick, I want to jump in there on you.
Go ahead.
That question you asked Bob, I agree with you. They have a place, but they have to understand they have a place, and they need to stay in their place. Of course, we welcome them. Of course, they're part of the show. Our show is our sport has grown to where it's in the internet and it's not just controlled by magazines. And that gives everybody an input. But listen, everybody's entitled to their input. Everybody's entitled to opinion, but it's subjective, and it doesn't mean that they're right or they're wrong. They deserve to be there, but they don't deserve to have a right and a judging criteria. But they're right to have their opinion in it, and then we invite them to be a part of the show, of course.
But, I'm going to agree with you, Flex, because, I like the NBA. I like the NFL. When I watch Inside the NBA with Ernie Johnson, with Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, and Kenny Smith, I understand that those guys know more than I do. They know more than I do. That's what they do for a living. So I might have an opinion, and then I get to listen to them talking about a game, and I go, well, I now see it kind of differently. Or even if I disagree, I go, well, those guys have been looking at games for decades and decades. By the way,
and they did it also.
Yeah,
right. They were there and they did it. They did it, at the highest level. So of course they're going to have a better perception than we do.
Sure.
Sergio, I want to ask you, I have never lived in Dubai. I have never, for that matter, I've never been to Dubai. I've been to the airport, Abu Dhabi, on a layover to India. But Bob, you've been to Dubai, right?
Yep.
Flex, you've been to Dubai, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit, because I know Andrew Jack, apparently he lives in Dubai. He works out in Dubai. Apparently a lot of bodybuilders are going right now to explore Dubai. Tell us a little bit about, living in Dubai, working out in Dubai. Is this a place for bodybuilders?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The respect for bodybuilding is kind of what I would imagine it was for Bob and Flex back in the day. I was too young to understand that side of it. I went to shows and stuff, obviously, as a kid, but I never was able to live the you are respected. And it sounds so crazy to say, because now if you go to gyms in the States, I get it. Look, the gym is for everyone. No one has more of a right than the other ones. But still, when you guys were training, you weren't tripping over tripods for people that are filming their YouTubes and stuff like that. So no matter what, if they have a right or not, it's something you didn't have to deal with. I remember seeing videos of them taping off areas of the gym and just these crowds watching, and they're not watching to this is how it is nowadays, or this is how it was back in the day. They would be watching wow, look at this. Look at that. That's amazing. It's amazing. If you transform to nowadays, if that's how it was, it would be like, yeah, but he doesn't have that. And he's missing this. And this isn't that great. And I just feel like the eye of bodybuilding is just different. I think maybe because now we're dissected way more on a scientific level, inch for inch, that it just makes people find your flaws. But out here, people are almost like living in the 90s. It's like I'm back in Cuba and they're stuck in the 50s. They're stuck in the 90s over here, and they respect you. They I always let someone work in with me. It's always something important to me. I always want to take pictures with people growing up in this sport, but they're so worried about bothering you. They would rather just jump up and give your machine to you. Everybody wants to kind of help you. So that aspect alone, it's amazing. Now throw in the gyms. They have so much money, they don't know what to do with. So they just compete with each other. Bader's coming to Dubai now, and he's going to build an Oxygen, which is going to be competition to the gym that I even moved out here for, which is the craziest gym I've ever seen in my life. And then you have Olympia Gym, which is in Sharjah, where the airport you were. And you said Abu Dhabi. I'm sorry. It's like 25 minutes from here. There's an Olympia gym, and that's even bigger than the one that I'm at. So the facility is amazing. Like, yes, you can be Dorian and you can have 7 different exercises or 7 different machines, and you can build a Olympic, physique. But it's also nice to have a lot of toys, I got to tell you, because a lot of the newer age Panada stuff, it's really good. And this old, I get this all the time. I get this every post I post. If it's something new age, well, your dad didn't need that. Your dad didn't need this machine. But I'll tell you, you know what? I bet you my dad went through stints where he was just kind of like going through the motions of going to the gym. I'm excited to go every day now because there's literally in 3 different buildings that I train in. I can train in one building for a whole week. The next week I can go to a different building, which has a completely different set of machines. So I think Dubai is the future for sure on a lot of aspects. I think right now with every country going to shit, not having taxes out here and the politics that we deal with back home is definitely a nice bonus for sure. So I love it out here. And you have beaches. It's not like I almost went to Oxygen in Kuwait with Cormier one time, and I just heard that it's rough. For me, it's fine. I'll eat, sleep, and train for the rest of my life. If I could eat, sleep, and train, that would be my ideal lifestyle. But for a lot of these guys, it was really tough to do that, So here, you can at least go to the beach if you want. There's tons of tourist things to do. So it's nice. And, I mean, hey, you can have multiple wives here. That's really why I moved here.
Yeah. You know what?
I don't know. I don't know if that's a good thing.
Sergio.
I'm just kidding.
Sergio.
Hey, Terry.
Hey, did I tell you guys the difference between Kuwait and Abu Dhabi?
No.
So apparently, the people in Kuwait don't like the Flintstones, but the people in Abu Dhabi do.
God,
huh?
I hope you guys pay this guy extra.
Come on.
Come on.
I love the Flintstones. I used to call myself Bedrock when I fought. But hey, Terrick, to answer that question, I don't know. I only been there for a few days when I come. So just like everywhere we travel, right? India, any world, in a few days, you only have a chance to see the good stuff, right? And whoever brought you is only going to allow you to see the great stuff. So I haven't experienced it like
Sure.
Serge have. I haven't experienced it like other guys who've moved there. But I will tell you this: I know the laws are extremely different, and I've lived in the United States all my life. I don't know if I'll be able to adapt to their laws and living like that because we're so free here in the United States. And unfortunately, I think that's probably something that Serge is realizing now. Wow, it's a lot of beauty, glitz, and glamour. But man, any country, when you dig into the deep of it, it might not be all good. It might not be no better than where you came from. So I think it's pros and cons.
Bob, you've been to Dubai for expos and stuff like that, right?
That's only the reason I've been there.
Yeah.
What was your experience? Because I've never been there, but the place looks majestic.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Well, I've been there only in modern times. I wasn't there way back in the day. So what I saw was just last year. And the first thing that strikes you about Dubai is it's extremely clean. I mean, there is not a piece of trash blowing around like nothing. It's like when you go to Disney, and everything's just boom. It's all pristine and somebody's picking up stuff, but very, very clean, very modern. We went up, we got a chance. We had a private tour. They set us up really nice. Myself and Big Steve and a bunch of us from the IFBB Pro League. They took us up to the Khalifa building, the world's tallest building. That was quite an adventure. There's this indoor, call it a zoo, I guess, for lack of better, an aquarium type thing, which is absolutely stunning. I mean, but there is the architecture, everything is just so off the chain modern that I can see why it's very attractive to be there for all those type of things. But like Sergio said, you know what? Those are all great. But when it comes to like simple things that we're used to as Americans, certain freedoms, things like that, that's where things get a little dicey. So I can see both sides, but as a tourist, fantastic.
Hey, Sergio, how about the cost of living? I hear the cost of living is a bit high. Is that right?
Mm.
Well, I moved here from San Diego, so it's the exact same I was paying in San Diego.
Right.
Well, that's interesting. Well, very cool, very cool. I hope to be in. I'm going to India twice this year. I'm going to Romania. I'll be in Japan. Hopefully, I have a chance to stop by Dubai and visit. But I
But
want
they
to
have a
finish.
show coming up in Dubai, so you ought to be there.
No, I would love to be there as well. Now, Sergio, I want to finish this live giving you the final word. Um, you are a phenomenal bodybuilder, the most enigmatic, charismatic bodybuilder of our times. Since Chris Cormier retired in a club in Tijuana, you know, but I want to give you the final word. Let us know how you feel and where you're going. And I want you to know that regardless of where you're going, all of us are going to be with you.
Thanks for that. Yeah, just I wanted to take a break, and it worked. That's kind of really was the point. I think a lot of people sometimes take breaks because they need a break from bodybuilding, and I slightly needed that, but I never took my foot off the gas. If anything, I pushed it even harder. So I want people to know that I took a break for a reason. I'm not just taking a year off to travel or come, live out in Dubai and enjoy myself. It will be the best I've ever looked. That's why I'm really excited to make sure that when I do a show, it's not just after all this time to kind of just be like, I'll just hop in this show. It's very important to me. And for people that don't know me, bodybuilding is the most important thing in the world to me. I've said it several times. I said it in my speech with Arnold. If it wasn't for bodybuilding, I wouldn't be born. Both my parents were pros. People don't know my mom was a pro. So it's just different for me. And I think sometimes when I look at the sport or look at myself, I look at it as a fan. And I think maybe that's why I come off different to people. Like, who does he think he is saying this? Because I feel like I'm the biggest fan. And I know that all the potential and stuff is there. But I also know, too, that if I don't do this, like, look, Hunter is, almost the same boat. His dad was at Mr. Olympia, but, he has to deal with the same things. But if Hunter leaves tomorrow, nobody would say that he was a letdown. No one would say that he didn't, do well or anything like that. I know that if I don't reach my potential, it would be one of the biggest letdowns in bodybuilding ever. And I'm not saying that as me. I'm saying it as a fan of the sport. And I like that because I like that pressure and I like that challenge because I'll use it to make sure that I, stay on it. So I just want people to know that, like, look, this is very important to me. I'm very excited to come back. I feel like without disrespecting bodybuilding, however people want to take this statement, but I think now is the easiest time to ever win the Mr. Olympia. I don't exist when a Ronnie Coleman exists or a Phil Heath exists. I'm not alive while somebody is just going to just do a decade of just Mr. Olympias. So I feel next year it's going to be a different person. I don't think Hottie's going to even win again. And that's so exciting because it means any one of us can win it. So I promise I'm all out. I'm all in. And I'm excited to come back and prove to people that care, not prove to people that don't believe in me, but prove to people who have had my back. Those are the people that I'm really focusing on. And it's people like you and people behind closed doors that have sacrificed their life for this. Because look, bodybuilding is nuts. Like the chances of making a living are so nuts. And I think we forget too sometimes when we're like, oh, this guy sucks or screw him, don't buy his product. And there's a bunch of family members and loved ones that are also giving up their life to, be a part of this person's life. And you're rooting against them too. So I would never let my family down. I'll never let the people that believed in me down. So we'll see what happens.
That is the great Sergio Oliva Jr., full of charisma. This man has delivered on stage and he has delivered off stage. I'd like to thank my hosts. The Voice of Bodybuilding. He's got the Voice of Bodybuilding with Bob Ciccarillo podcast. Please subscribe to that immediately. Otherwise, your life will be miserable. He's also the Master of Ceremony for the Mr. Olympia Arnold Classic. He's the 2000 Mr. USA's and the athletes representative. I would like to thank my other co-host. His name is the legend Flex Wheeler. He's the 1992 Mr. USA, 4-time Arnold Classic champion, and he received the Lifetime Award, the Lifetime Achievement Award from the hands of Arnold Classic himself, and the New York Pro Champion, Sergio Oliva Jr. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys next Wednesday with Olympia TV.
Ladies and gentlemen,